Living in Turkmenistan is an experience that is difficult to compare with life anywhere else in the modern world. From the outside, the country often appears as a curiosity, a strange remnant of the Cold War mixed with extreme personality cults and surreal architecture. From the inside, however, it is a place where daily life is shaped by fear, ritualized loyalty, silence, and a constant awareness of what must not be said. To understand what it means to live in Turkmenistan today, one must look beyond the white marble buildings of its capital and into the long shadow cast by its political history, its leaders, and the system of control that has defined the country since independence. Turkmenistan's modern history begins long before it became a nation-state. For centuries, the region was inhabited by nomadic Turkmen tribes, organized around clan structures, oral traditions, and a strong sense of honor and independence. These tribes lived primarily from herding, trade along Silk Road routes, and periodic conflict with neighboring powers. In the 19th century, the Russian Empire expanded southward into Central Asia, eventually conquering the Turkmen territories through military campaigns that were both brutal and decisive. By the early 20th century, Turkmen lands were firmly under Russian control. After the Bolshevik Revolution, Turkmenistan became part of the Soviet Union, officially established as the Turkmen Soviet Socialist Republic in 1924. Under Soviet rule, the traditional nomadic lifestyle was forcibly dismantled. Collectivization, sedentarization, and industrial planning transformed society at a rapid pace. Education and literacy expanded, especially in urban areas, and women were encouraged, often coercively, to abandon traditional roles. At the same time, religion was suppressed, political dissent was crushed, and local culture was reshaped to fit Soviet ideology. Moscow controlled economic planning, political appointments, and security, leaving little room for genuine autonomy. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Turkmenistan declared independence like the other Central Asian republics. For many countries, this moment opened the door to political reform and experimentation. In Turkmenistan, it marked the beginning of something very different. Saparmurat Niyazov, the former Communist Party boss of the republic, seized the moment to consolidate absolute power. He took the title Turkmenbashi, meaning leader of the Turkmen, and quickly began constructing one of the most extreme personality cults the world had seen since Stalin or Mao. Under Saparmurat Niyazov's rule, Ashgabat underwent a dramatic transformation driven by an almost obsessive fixation on the color white. The former president ordered countless buildings to be clad in gleaming white marble, earning Ashgabat the Guinness World Record for the highest concentration of marble structures on the planet. This surreal, almost blinding whiteness was meant to symbolize purity and grandeur. Niyazov ruled Turkmenistan from 1991 until his death in 2006. During this period, the state became synonymous with his personal image and ideology. His portraits were everywhere, on buildings, in schools, in offices, and even on bottles of vodka. Giant golden statues of Niyazov were erected across the country, the most famous of which rotated to face the sun throughout the day. Streets, cities, months of the year, and even days of the week were renamed after him and members of his family. At the center of Niyazov's ideological project was the Ruhnama, a book he claimed to have written himself, part spiritual guide, part nationalist myth, and part personal manifesto. The Ruhnama became mandatory reading. It was taught in schools, tested in universities, and required knowledge for civil service jobs and even driver's licenses. Mosques and churches were instructed to display the book alongside religious texts. To question it was to question the state itself. For ordinary citizens, life under Niyazov meant adapting to a system where loyalty mattered more than competence, and silence was often the safest choice. The media was entirely state-controlled. Foreign journalists were banned or tightly restricted. The internet was virtually non-existent. Internet in Turkmenistan remains among the most censored globally, rivaling North Korea, with near total blocks on social media, news sites, and most foreign content. Access is slow, expensive, and requires self-identification. The government promotes state-controlled VPNs while cracking down on independent ones. VPN keys are sold on the black market for high prices, but using unauthorized ones risks fines or worse. Foreign travel required official permission that was often denied without explanation. Security services monitored society closely, and stories of arrests, disappearances, and forced psychiatric confinement circulated quietly among the population. Ironically, in 2025, Turkmenistan introduced plans for e-visas to boost tourism and business, potentially simplifying applications and reducing the need for LOIs in some cases. After Niyazov's sudden death, many observers hoped that Turkmenistan might soften its political system. His successor, Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, initially appeared more pragmatic. Some of the more absurd policies were quietly reversed. Certain city names were restored, and the Ruhnama gradually lost its central role. However, these changes did not signal democratization. Instead, Berdimuhamedov replaced Niyazov's cult with his own. He intensified the obsession with the color white, banning cars that were not white, or at least very light in color, from entering the city center. Berdimuhamedov cultivated an image of himself as a polymath and action hero. State television showed him riding horses, racing cars, lifting weights, DJing, firing guns, and performing music. Berdimuhamedov wrote books on topics ranging from medicine to horses, all of which were promoted as masterpieces. A golden statue of him on horseback was unveiled in Ashgabat. He also built a statue for his favorite dog breed. Like his predecessor, he ruled through fear, patronage, and total control of political life. In 2022, power was formally transferred to his son, Serdar Berdimuhamedov, making Turkmenistan one of the few hereditary dictatorships in the post-Soviet world. While the father remains influential behind the scenes, the succession reinforced the message that the country is not governed by institutions, but by a family. For citizens, this confirmed what they already knew: political change does not come through elections or public debate. Recent reports show the cult has intensified even more. Now, state employees must fund portraits of both father and son, purchase the president's books at their own expense, and participate in mandatory celebrations, turning loyalty into a financial and performative obligation. Daily life in Ashgabat is shaped by this political reality, but outside the capital, life is much harder. Despite Turkmenistan's enormous natural gas reserves, much of the population struggles with poverty, unemployment, and shortages. In recent years, even basic food items such as flour, sugar, and cooking oil have been rationed or difficult to obtain. Long lines for subsidized goods are common, and people often rely on informal networks to survive. The country is facing high inflation, poverty, and reliance on informal networks or bazaars where prices are 3 times higher. The situation worsened when subsidies were cut, leading to protests, something rare in Turkmenistan. Culturally, Turkmenistan has a rich heritage. Traditional carpets, known for their deep reds and geometric patterns, are among the country's most famous products and a symbol of national pride. The horse holds a sacred place in Turkmen culture and national identity. For centuries, the nomadic Turkmen tribes relied on their swift and resilient horses for survival across the vast deserts and steppes. The most revered breed is the Akal Tek, known for its metallic golden sheen, incredible endurance, and ancient lineage. It appears in state ceremonies, on banknotes, and even in golden statues of the leaders riding them. For many Turkmen, owning and caring for these horses isn't just a tradition, it's a mark of heritage, status, and unbreakable connection to their nomadic past, and the state uses this to promote its image.
Do you want to visit Turkmenistan?
Tourism exists, but it is tightly controlled. Visitors are usually required to join guided tours, and interaction with locals can be limited. Notable tourist sites include the Darvaza gas crater, often called the Door to Hell, a burning pit in the desert that has become an international curiosity. Even tourism, however, is shaped by the state's desire to control what outsiders see. Perhaps the most defining feature of life in Turkmenistan is ideological indoctrination combined with repression. From a young age, citizens are taught to revere the leader and the state. Public displays of loyalty are expected, whether through participation in mass events, applause at televised speeches, or conformity in language and behavior. At the same time, people learn what topics to avoid. Politics, corruption, and the personal lives of leaders are dangerous subjects. Surveillance does not always need to be visible to be effective. The uncertainty about who might be listening or reporting creates a culture of self-censorship. Many people express their true opinions only with close family members, if at all. Trust is fragile. Fear becomes normal. Is there hope for change in Turkmenistan? The honest answer is that change is possible, but not imminent. The country's isolation, control of information, and concentration of power make rapid transformation unlikely. However, no system is permanent. Younger generations, despite restrictions, are more aware of the outside world than their parents were. Economic pressures, technological leaks, and internal elite dynamics could eventually force reform. For now, living in Turkmenistan means navigating a carefully staged reality, where appearances matter more than truth, and obedience matters more than talent. It is a place where ancient traditions coexist with modern absurdities, where immense wealth exists alongside deep scarcity, and where the silence of the population speaks louder than any official slogan. To understand Turkmenistan is to understand how power, when left unchecked, can reshape not only a state, but the inner lives of the people who live within it. If this deep dive into one of the world's most isolated and surreal countries opened your eyes, give it a like to help spread the word. Subscribe for more untold stories from the edges of our planet, and hit the bell. Next time could be even wilder. What restricted destination should I cover next? Let me know in the comments. That's all for today.